Jared's in Frankfurt, home of the hot dog.
He didn't miss a sponsor, dude.
These guys run me hard. The grocery getter.
He's on a boat somewhere.
And that'd be a redneck Christmas.
You got to find out how much pounding you want. This is the first one. It's surprising how much lighter. I love Ron. I'm finishing up my R jerky here.
It's amazing RJ still gets shout outs. The fact that he launched one of our Project CR250 two-strokes off a cliff. What's up guys, welcome back to the Dirtbike vlog. Vlog 17 I think. We're back out at Glen Helen Raceway. We got the big motorhome out here today. Got a little something special for you. Well, I guess first off, I'm limping around a little bit. Had ACL reconstruction, so no riding for me for a little while. That's all right. I needed a break anyway. These guys run me hard. Today we have something special for you guys. We have two 250Fs that we're gonna test, and we figured why not put them head to head and just see the differences and answer some questions that you guys might have about these bikes. So we have the Triumph TF250X and we have the KTM 250SXF. Now, some of these parts on the Triumph, you can see they definitely got some ideas from other OE brands. And then on the KTM, new frame, new swing arm, suspension updates, quite a bit of changes, although it does look the same as the 2024. I have the one and only Mark Tilley here. He brought the bikes out. He's the grocery getter. Mark, you've ridden both bikes?
Yeah, I have. I've not completely back to back. We had a Honda in there and some other bikes in there. But it's interesting, there is some differences from the Triumph that we tested a couple months ago, and we have a full test on that. You guys can head over to the YouTube channel and check that out. The bike is a little bit different. It's not as free revving. It's a little bit more notchy type shifting. It's got a lot more compression braking than I remember. And that's the nice part about getting the bikes back here in California, taking them to tracks that we are used to riding and doing stuff. But other than that, Triumph is kind of what I remember in the hunt. It's an amazing bike that it's amazing that they're doing as much as they're doing when it comes to the racing and having as much success as they're having. This is the first one of these motorcycles. So it's pretty impressive. I mean, they've had a couple mechanical failures in some of at the highest level with those guys, which there's companies that have been around for many, many years that are having the same issues. So I'm still impressed with the motorcycle. I'm really interested to see how it stacks up against the new 2025 KTM with the new frame and the suspension updates and some of the little updates that go through it. I believe this is a better platform moving forward. The frame is a lot more, I would say, rider friendly in general. But like you said, there is some parts that look the same. This Triumph is its own deal. They do have some parts that maybe will switch over. We're still figuring that stuff out. We've kind of heard that the rear sprocket is the same as the KTM, but we don't know. We haven't tried that yet.
The hubs look, if you look at the hubs on this bike and the KTM, they look extremely similar. If they're not the same, they're really close.
Yeah, exactly. So there is that time frame. The one thing that we are, just by looking at it, I am a little disappointed. Triumph did tell us that the Torx drive systems that they have on all their bolts was going to change to something more like the KTM that would have a head in it. They didn't do that. So maybe the 2025 model will come that way. This is a 2024 model Triumph, so it's not the 2025. It is going to be our long-term test bike. So we're interested to see when we're going to get that bike. But now, like I said, getting it out here, instead of just doing another test on the bike and say, hey, yeah, a lot of the same stuff that we thought back there is the same. We'll just get that out of the way. A lot of the stuff that we thought back at Gatorback is the same. There is some differences. This bike might need to be broken in a little bit to free up the frame, to free up the engine a little bit, to make it rev a little bit freer. But then again, that bike might not rev as free as what we thought. And that's the one thing about going on single bike intros, is that we have to kind of not jump the gun. And some people, oh, well, you guys didn't give us very much information. Well, we can say that this is the greatest bike when that's the only one we're riding at Gatorback on that day. Getting it back out here, being able to put it up against one of the titans in the class with the KTM, we're just gonna tell you what the differences are. It's not a shootout, it's not anything. We're just gonna say, hey, this is what we feel differently. I'm gonna have a couple different riders riding it, myself, and a guy that rides 250Fs all the time, and then maybe a vet guy going in there as well. So when you get our feedback at the end of the day, it's not just me. There's a lot of people that are riding these bikes and a lot of people that are giving us their feedback. But I'm interested to see, because the Triumph being the first year out, it has all the bells and whistles that this KTM has, that has been out for, you know, a long time now with KTM doing stuff. So it's got traction control, it's got the quick shift, it's got launch control, it's got multiple maps in there. So, you know, it's kind of cool. And like I said, I don't mean to be like, hey, Triumph is the greatest thing, but it is still impressive. No matter where they finish in our shootout later on this year, it's still impressive that they were able to bring a good bike like this out in the very beginning.
And so we got, obviously, Mark was talking about map switches. This thing is a lot more of a robust piece on the handlebars in comparison to the KTM. KYB suspension, WP suspension. This is a 100 rear Pirelli, and this is a 110 rear Dunlop, so that'll be interesting on feel and just stability on the bike. We have aluminum frame, we have steel frame. That's gonna be interesting. The swing arms, they do look kind of close to the, you know, like it's definitely a Triumph swing arm, but they've taken cues off some of the other OE models.
Swing arm on the Triumph to me looks more like a Japanese type finish to it, whereas that's the swing arm that we're accustomed to when it comes to a KTM gas or Husky. So gearing is definitely different. I think there's a 51 on the rear there, just looking at the rears. There's a 48 on the rear here. The different size and different brands of tire on the rear. I know that the Pirelli doesn't have as hard of a carcass as what the Dunlop does, and having a wider tire, yeah, it is a 110, but really Honda that has said they're running the Pirellis on their 250Fs and a 100, that's to make it look good on paper. It's to make it look lighter. It's surprising how much lighter. Like when you're looking at it, a Pirelli tire set and a Dunlop tire set, you're running a 100 in the rear, there could be up to 2 or 3 pounds difference. So 2 or 3 pounds on a 250F is a big deal. Now there is some people that they have to have a 110. My side, I just feel like a 110 gets more power to the ground. Yeah, it is a little bit heavier, and if your bike, you know, doesn't have the power to cover it, then maybe, but really modern day 250Fs, to try a 110 to see if you like it, I definitely recommend it.
And one other thing is, obviously on the Triumph, you have front and rear Brembo brakes. That is something that KTM has been known for. All the media brag about the Brembo brakes. Whether they like the motorcycle or not, you'll never hear them talk bad about the brakes, and that's because they are pretty damn good. So pretty cool to see another OE jumping on the Brembo brake thing. You see Kawasaki, they have their front Brembo brakes now. That's pretty cool that you're seeing that on another OE now.
Yeah, no, and it's with this, Triumph has Brembo brakes, KYB suspension, they have Pro Taper bars, ODI lock-on grips. They didn't skimp. They didn't skimp on what they did. I do like the fact that this bike, you're getting premium products out of the box from a brand new motorcycle. They could have easily gone the shorter end of the stick and just slapped on some less expensive parts to save a buck or two, but they went in and they actually they put some premium stuff on here and made it competitive. Yeah, no, they did. I mean, shout out to the guys at Triumph and the whole program, the people that they brought in, the test riders, the R&D development guys, the racing guys. Like, these guys are in it. You know, hopefully we're gonna see a 450, no confirmations yet, but hopefully we're gonna see a 450 here from these guys. It's kind of a cool thing. It's a cool time to, what we say, cool time to be alive, and we have brand new bikes coming. We have lots of stuff coming on. Like I said, we just got this Triumph. We're still waiting for our boy over at Backyard Designs, Jared Hicks. He's on a boat somewhere in in Germany kind of hanging out. I'm sure that we'll get our graphics and our numbers.
Jared's in Frankfurt, home of the hot dog.
Yeah, so he's Frankfurtering. So sooner or later, we'll get this Triumph dialed in and we'll be looking good. An updated test, you can look in an upcoming issue of the magazine. This particular little kind of comparison might be a sidebar in that test, but we're gonna do a lot more testing when it comes to 250Fs in general. So, you know, stay tuned for more.
It's pretty cool, like Mark mentioned. I remember I started in 2011. I still remember when KTM, yeah, we tested it. It was kind of like the oddball, like extra bike back then, and you know, we'd even throw in like a beta and other stuff, but it's just cool that these other brands are popping up and we're getting our hands on it. Even the Ducati, which you've seen Tony Cairoli riding it quite a bit, it sounds pretty mean. It looks way different than the other motorcycles. So even that, again, we're excited to get our hands on one eventually. I'm sure we'll get one in the States to test at an intro, but yeah, pretty cool to be able to compare back to back on two of the more, let's say, hyped bikes of 2024, 2025. But yeah, we'll see. Mark Tilley, you need to gear up.
Yeah, stop talking. Let's go ride.
Let's see what let's see what you can do if you can ride a 250F.
All right, let's do it. I got to give a shout out to this company, Stony Sock Co. They made us some custom socks. Bob and the crew over at Stony Sock Co. made us some custom Dirt Bike magazine socks. They have a bunch of wild designs and stuff like that. Seen it out there with some of the other piece. Carson Brown is one of their riders. They got some signature socks for him, but it's got ventilation in the back. I've been running these socks for the last 6-8 months and they're holding up good. You saw me putting them on, they stay tight. I think they have like the AEO Power Sports KTM team and stuff like that, but shout out to them. I mean, these things are definitely holding up. I don't know, unfortunately, I don't know, StonySockCo.com. Yeah, you know what? Like, I'm pretty impressed with them, and you know, check them out. I know they have some, if you're more on the political side, they have some Trump socks and some MAGA socks, but they have a bunch of wild designs and all kinds of stuff. Like I said, they made this custom design for us. I've seen them make them for Swap Moto and Vital MX and Motocross Action. So I know that there's a lot of them out there. So on the media side, so check them out.
I'd like to see some I Love Ron socks.
Hey, they might do it. Like, I know that they're into custom stuff and doing custom stuff, so you never know. There might be a I Love Ron coming close to.
Because I have the I Love Ron shirt, and to match with I Love Ron socks, and for the whole Dirt Bike squad, so we can all wear it but Ron, would be pretty cool.
Well, and they have them, shoot, we could have them for the kids. They have kid-size socks.
Well, I know the kids have been asking about the shirts already. So I know the socks would also be a hit.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a no-brainer. They would probably.
Everyone loves Ron.
Yeah, everybody. I mean, anybody that comes in contacts with them walks away going, I love Ron. I hear they're going to start making some lower socks. Some of the people don't like it when it comes up past their knee, so they're going to make some lower socks and stuff like that. But like I said, I'm fairly impressed with the quality, and if you have custom socks, that's pretty cool. And like I said, they have a bunch of different socks that can fit your style or fit what you're into, and it's kind of cool. Not very many companies are out there doing it.
You can get an I Love Ron shirt, I Love Ron's socks, a honey baked ham, and that'd be a redneck Christmas. Beauty?
Yeah.
What do you got over there? Why is he 450 or 250?
250F, bro.
250F?
No 450s for me. I wish they made a 350.
Are you gonna? Dude, at one point I heard that they had one, but I also heard at one point they were trying to develop a 150 and it never happened.
Right. I heard that too.
Are you gonna race Tilly today? We're on the street as you're racing Tilly.
He's got his modified whiskey throttle, twisted development, Recluse FMF Race Tech Gold Valve, cosmetic gaskets, race winning brands Yamaha 250F. He's ready to go.
So you're saying he's got a cheater bike?
He didn't miss a sponsor, dude.
You know what? I didn't say Decal Works. Dang.
And you didn't say FXR.
Yeah, but that's a personal sponsor of his. This is a business deal. that's a personal deal. So
1.2 million a year.
yeah, we keep that stuff separate from, and then he has his 6D thing that goes with the FXR thing. So Alpine Star naturally, probably throws in some X brand goggles. Jay Clark, Dirtbike TV. Jay is the Dunlop guy. When I first met Jay back in the late 90s, early 2000s, he was the Wiseco guy. Told me that I couldn't sell Vertex pistons at Loretta's, and he walked away, and I was like, who the hell is that guy? And so now almost 30 years later, like we work together all the time, but everybody goes, well, Dirtbike TV and Dirtbike magazine are the same thing, right? And naturally we did that video a long time ago about, hey, this is Jay Clark, like he works for these companies, doesn't have anything to do with the magazine per se. He builds project bikes. We build project bikes together all the time, and all kinds of stuff.
He helped build my Minesweeper 05 YZ250.
Dude, I think we do 4 or 5 dirt bike magazine bikes a year, easy.
I got a
average.
question though. So I see a van, it's empty. I don't see a dang tire in here. What's going on, Jay?
Yeah, we don't bring them unless it's pre-ordered. Especially when it's 104. It's the high.
Jay will show up and I'll go, hey, you want to change tires? And he goes, no, I'm gonna go riding. And it's like, oh, okay.
Jay,
So, Mark knows to set them up in advance, and we go by his house, you know, or we'll do it early.
So you don't bring rubbers to the track. I don't get
Right,
it.
right.
But you did bring a tire stand.
Yeah, if they're.
Tilly actually brought out Ryan Surratt today. Ryan just got off a shoulder injury, but he was the second rider in the video you guys were watching. It's crazy that was today is his first day and he's already ripping. I'd have to train for the next 20 years to go that fast, but pretty cool that he came out, and him and Tilly went back and forth on the KTM and the Triumph. And Tilly, what do we got? How'd the bikes do? And what do we think?
I'm finishing up my R jerky here.
Jeez.
My after ride R jerky. So
Product placement here.
shout out to Robbie and RJ, and hopefully I'll get a shipment.
It's amazing RJ still gets shout outs. The fact that he launched one of our Project CR250 two-strokes off a cliff and left it overnight during the 24-hour and really messed up the team. But hey, you know, whatever. I'm team captain, no big deal.
We like Robbie and we are a part of his mammoth victory, so we're all good. So actually really surprised, you know, riding the Triumph alone and then now getting the 2025 KTM. Straight up, straight print, transparent. I did not like last year's KTM 250 or 450. They were rigid. I mean, you had to go get your fillings replaced after you rode the motorcycle. So wasn't a fan of it. I'm all about rider comfort and all about as much comfort as you can possibly have on a bike. I want to sit down a little bit. I'm old. It's just how it goes. So the new bike right off the bat, impressed with the rider comfort, rigidity, and the shocking kind of just pounding that you had to do last year. That's all gone. Really impressed by that. Really impressed by the Triumph coming back, getting it back here on a track that we are definitely comfortable at Glen Helen. Does some different stuff. It's not as great in the handling department as what I thought it was at Gatorback. I mean, at Gatorback I was thinking, man, this thing is gonna blow away everything in the 250 class, but it's still not bad when you kind of compare the two bikes. Front end wise, I like the Triumph a little bit better. It's got a spring KYB fork. It's just plusher all the way around. It's planted. The Triumph feels like it has a more front end plant than what the KTM does. The air fork kind of seems like it bounces around a little bit. It's really good on single hits. You know, there's just more comfort when it comes to the front end of the Triumph. The back end is a little bit different. The back end of the KTM now is really planted. The frame geometries and rigidities and everything like that, they got it to where that back end squat's kind of like the previous generation before the last generation, to where we got comfortable with that rear end squatting. We do run it a little bit lower in race sag. You know, it's probably 104, 105, whereas the Triumph actually likes in the rear to be ran up a little bit more in maybe the 102 to 100 range. The shock is a lot softer on the Triumph. It seems like it could add some, you can add some compression, because both myself and the other test riders felt like it was kind of blowing through on some of the, even on a downhill, like there was a big hit on the downhill and it felt like it blew all the way through. The front end took it up really good, but the back just kind of hit it hard. But handling wise, both have their good and bad traits. Front end is a little bit more planted on the Triumph than the KTM, but both bikes overall pretty good. They don't do anything weird. They're pretty stable. You kind of know when they're gonna step out and when they're not gonna step out. It was nice, like I said, today, Glen Helen, it did get rough, so we could test stuff, you know, downhills being rough and everything like that. So when it comes to tire selection, and I definitely do like the 110 on the rear of the KTM. I feel like I just have...
And the Dunlop over Pirelli?
I don't really know if it's a tire difference. It could be. I am, you know, more familiar with the Dunlop MX-34 than I am the Pirelli. I think it's a MX-32. So tread pattern wise, I feel like with a 100 and with the Pirelli, the back end I don't want to say wobbles a little bit, but when you're really on it, you can kind of feel it move away. And I think that the carcass on the Pirelli is a little bit lighter and not as stiff as what the Dunlop is, but I'm going to naturally go to a 110 and see how that is. I want to do some gearing on the Triumph. It's got I believe a 48 in the rear. I want to go to a 49 or a 50 because I feel like I'm in between shifting, in between where I want to be. The other thing, when it comes to the engine, KTM feels faster. We haven't had these on the dyno yet back to back, so I don't know which one is faster. The KTM feels faster, feels like it has more bottom and mid, still having enough over rev on top to make me happy in either map. In whether you're in the white map or the green map. We won't say what Travis calls those maps, but we'll say the white map or the
They're not politically correct, at least not for this YouTube channel.
Yeah, so, but in both maps on there, they're pretty close. You can tell one has a little bit more bottom, one has a little bit more top, but you know, both of them pretty close. When it comes to power on the Triumph, it is kind of what we thought. It does have a lot of mid and top. It's a mid and top motor going after probably the high-end racer guy that is going to be maybe a little bit more advanced, a little bit more aggressive. Surratt is that guy. He rides this thing really well. And then on that, it has the map switch as well, to where you have one other map pre-programmed in there without the button pressed down and not lit up, I guess. The lit up map seems like it gives the bike a little bit more bottom, but not a ton. It's not something that you're gonna go, oh my God, this thing is completely different. It just kind of gives you a little bit more. You don't have to clutch it off bottom as much. The shifting on this one is on the Triumph is a little bit more notchy, and it's got compression braking that I didn't notice before when we were at Gatorback. So I'm not sure if those bikes were maybe broke in a little bit more or whatever. I think this thing has 3 hours on it now. So it is a mid and top motor, where the KTM is, you don't rev it as high. It kind of does a little thing on top to where it makes power and then it feels like it's going away, and then all of a sudden it has like an over rev to it. That's a little interesting, and I felt that at Gatorback, but maybe not as much because we didn't have the time and the big hills to where we could run stuff out like we do here at Glen Helen.
Well, and you had at Gatorback, you had the media there. Track was prepped every day. You had about 10 media max there. It's really hard to burn in a track, even with that, like low amount of riders. They were putting a decent amount of laps, but really the track didn't get crazy rough. Now we're here on a public day at Glen Helen. You've got 100 riders riding, including Brian Surratt and Mark Tilley. So keep that in mind. The track got rougher sooner, more real world tests for these guys, and for Tilley quicker. So, you know, a lot of that goes into the feeling and how it felt Glen Helen versus Gatorback.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The other stuff, the quick shift on the Triumph, I mean, both bikes have it. Quick shift on the Triumph, some of the other test riders were saying that it made it easier to shift the bike. The thing that gets me with the quick shift is that you gotta not touch the clutch. And if you touch the clutch at all, then you have to, like, you kind of have a little bit of hesitation. Personally, I can't get used to it, but there's a lot of other people that can get used to it fast and slow. So if you don't mind not using the clutch, then the quick shift on the Triumph works really well. The launch control, quick shift system, traction control. For me, the only stuff that I usually mess around with, the mapping, like quick shift and traction control and stuff like that, I feel like it hinders the riding a little bit. There is a time and a place for it, but for me, it's I'm not really that person. The other thing that is available for the, I don't believe we got it with the Triumph. We're running an open airbox or a vented airbox cover, but on the KTM, it came with a vented and non-vented. Today, we did switch back and forth. The vented airbox cover does make the bike feel faster. It gives it more bottom and mid-range, and then maybe even a little bit more top. It just lets that bike breathe. You can tell it when you're riding. So if nothing else, it feels like it sounds like you're going faster to the rider, but it is a pretty cool option. Like I said, we only had the vented one on the Triumph. I'm not sure if they make it available when you do buy that bike, if you can have a closed off one. Overall, still impressed with the Triumph. I think when it comes down to sheer power for the masses, I think a KTM might be a little bit better and a little bit more suited for a wider variety of rider. If a rider is going to be on the pipe, as we say, but more in the mid and top range and wants to rev the bike, the Triumph definitely likes to be revved. You know, that might fit his riding style or her riding style a little bit better. But still a solid package, a really solid package for the Triumph. Pleasantly surprised all the way around. We're gonna do a lot more testing on them, but kind of gives you the difference between the two. What kind of rider you are and what you're looking for might change the way that you do it. And hey, check out the other media outlets. Somebody else might fit you a little bit better, but it's all about you and what you're looking for in a motorcycle. So just remember that. Like, you might go, oh yeah, no, the KTM doesn't do that for me, or the Triumph doesn't do that for me. So you got to make up your own mind. We're just out here giving you kind of our opinion of it, and sometimes our opinion doesn't match your opinion. So check out everybody's videos. I mean, it's definitely a good thing, but that's kind of the gist of what we think. We are going to do a shootout with a lot of different bikes. We're going to do a lot more testing on the Triumph and go from there. So
well, and that's the thing too, is like, you know, you were mentioning like pounding on the track, you know, like this one might have pounded you pretty hard, but for other people, the Triumph, you know, maybe they're feeling that pounding and they want to ride the KTM.
Well, yeah, you got to find out how much pounding you want and how much comfort you want. Like I said, there's good and bad stuff about both motorcycles, but it's really hard to find bad stuff about these two bikes. I mean, we're saying little stuff that we don't like, and yeah, it's pretty nitpicky because these things are so good. And remember, this is the very first one that Triumph has ever produced. This is one of their first production motorcycles.
Yeah, it's only gonna get better.
And it's impressive. It's definitely impressive. And like I said, stay tuned for more. If you got a little bit more time on your hands, you want to check out some of the other 2025 models that we've tested, or check out last year's comparison, hit that video thumbnail now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you stay up to date. You get a little alert when we put out something new, and we're always putting out new stuff. And like always, head over to dirtbikemagazine.com for the latest off-road and moto industry news.